I never thought I would be forced to choose between the two people I loved most in this world, my fiancé and my mother. One promised me a future, the other had given me my past. Their voices pulled me in opposite directions, their love tearing me apart instead of holding me together. This is not just a story about love or family. It is about a choice no one should ever have to make. And yet, I was the one who had to decide. When I look back at my life, I see two faces always standing with me. One is my mother, the woman who carried me through every storm. The other is my fiancé, the man who promised me a new life full of love and dreams. For years, these two people were my world, and I thought they would live peacefully side by side. But I was wrong. Sometimes love does not join hearts, it breaks them apart. Let me start from the beginning. I was raised by a single mother. My father had left when I was very young, and I don't even remember his face. For me, my mother was everything. She worked day and night to give me food, clothes, and education. I can still remember her tired hands cooking late at night and her soft voice telling me, "One day, you will have a better life than me." Her sacrifices became the foundation of my dreams. I promised myself that I would never let her down. She was not just my mother. She was my best friend, my guide, and my safe place in this world. Life changed when I met him, my fiancé Daniel. I met him during my last year of university. He was charming, kind, and different from anyone I had ever known. He made me laugh when I was stressed, and he listened to me when I talked about my dreams. Slowly, friendship turned into something deeper. He looked at me in a way no one ever had before, as if my words and my silence both mattered. When Daniel asked me to marry him, I felt as if my whole world had opened. For the first time, I saw a future not just for myself but for us. I wanted to run to my mother and share the news, because she had always told me she wanted to see me in a white dress, smiling, with someone who truly loved me. But life, as always, had other plans. First, everything seemed fine. My mother welcomed Daniel with polite words and kind gestures, but I noticed the little things. The way her smile faded when he touched my hand. The way she grew silent when he talked about moving abroad. I told myself it was nothing, just her being protective. After all, she had raised me alone. It was natural for her to be cautious. Still, the distance grew. One evening after dinner, my mother looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Are you sure he is the one for you?" Her words cut me. I had waited all my life for someone like Daniel, and now my mother, the person I trusted most, was planting seeds of doubt. "Mom," I whispered, "he makes me happy." "Isn't that enough?" She didn't answer right away. She just sighed and walked away, leaving me with a storm in my heart. On the other side, Daniel was also noticing the tension. "Why does your mother look at me as if I don't belong?" he asked me one night. His tone was not angry but hurt. I didn't know what to say. I loved him and I loved her. Why was love suddenly becoming a battle? The truth was, I was caught between two promises. One was the promise I made to my mother, that I would always be by her side, that I would never leave her lonely after everything she had done for me. The other was the promise Daniel made to me, that he would love me, protect me, and build a future with me. For a while, I tried to ignore the cracks. I told myself it was only a matter of time before my mother accepted him. I told Daniel to be patient, that love would soften her heart. But deep down I was afraid. Because every day, the silence between them grew louder. The turning point came during a family gathering. Daniel had come with me, excited to meet my relatives. Everyone welcomed him warmly, except my mother. She stayed quiet, sitting in the corner, her eyes heavy with something I couldn't name. When Daniel tried to talk to her, she gave short answers. When he stood close to me, she looked away. After the gathering, Daniel said, "I don't think your mother likes me. How can we build a future if she doesn't even accept me?" I felt my heart split. That night, when I went to my mother, she said softly, "I only want what's best for you. But I don't trust him. Something about him doesn't feel right." I couldn't sleep. Their voices echoed in my mind, pulling me in different directions. I wished love was simple, that happiness didn't come with conditions. But my life was no longer simple. I was standing in the middle of two people I loved, and I could already feel the storm that was coming. After that family gathering, nothing felt the same. The air inside my home was heavy, like a storm waiting to break. I could feel the tension every time Daniel and my mother were in the same room. Daniel tried his best. He brought flowers for her, offered to help with groceries, and even cooked dinner one evening. My mother thanked him politely, but her smile never reached her eyes. She spoke to him only when she had to, and her words were short, like a door that closed quickly. One evening when Daniel had left, I asked her, "Why don't you like him, Mom?" "He's kind, he's caring, and he loves me." My mother looked at me, her eyes tired but sharp. "It's not about liking or disliking. I don't feel he's right for you." "Not right," I repeated. "Mom, you've always wanted me to be happy. Can't you see he makes me happy?" Her lips trembled as if she wanted to say more, but she stopped herself. "Sometimes happiness is not enough," she whispered. Her words stayed with me like a shadow. Happiness not enough. What else did she want from me? The days passed, and Daniel grew more restless. He would ask, "What did she say about me today? Or does she still hate me?" I tried to calm him, telling him she only needed time. But the truth was, I wasn't sure anymore. Then came the talk of the wedding. Daniel and I had started making plans. We spoke about the date, the venue, and even where we would live afterward. Daniel wanted us to move abroad, to start fresh in another city where opportunities were brighter. He painted a picture of a beautiful life, just the two of us building a future without struggles. I was excited. Until I told my mother. The moment I mentioned moving abroad, her face fell. "So you will leave me here alone?" she asked. Her voice broke something inside me. 4 years, I had promised myself that I would never abandon her. She had given up her own life to raise me, and now, when she was older, how could I walk away? "Mom, it's not like that," I said quickly. "You can come with us." But she shook her head. "This is my home. My memories are here. I cannot live in another country. I cannot leave everything behind." I felt trapped. On one side, Daniel's dreams of a new life. On the other, my mother's need for me to stay. My heart pulled in both directions until I could hardly breathe. The arguments began. Daniel would say, "We need to think about our future. We can't live with your mother forever." My mother would say, "He wants to take you away from me. He doesn't understand what family means." And I would stand in the middle, my heart breaking with every word. One night, after another argument with my mother, I locked myself in my room and cried. Daniel called me on the phone. His voice was soft but firm. "You have to choose, love. We can't go on like this forever. Either she accepts us, or we make a life without her." The word choose hit me like lightning. How could I choose? She was my mother. He was my fiancé. Choosing one meant hurting the other, and I couldn't imagine living with that guilt. But the cracks kept growing. At family dinners, Daniel stopped talking as much. He would sit quietly, his smile forced, his eyes looking anywhere but at my mother. My mother, on the other hand, grew colder. Sometimes she didn't even greet him properly. The silence at the table was like ice, and I sat there trying to smile, trying to pretend everything was normal. Inside, I was breaking. I started avoiding conversations with both of them. When Daniel spoke about the wedding, I changed the subject. When my mother asked about our plans, I gave short answers. I felt like a rope pulled from both sides, ready to snap. Then something happened that made the distance even worse. One afternoon, I came home early from work and found my mother sitting alone in the living room, tears on her cheeks. I rushed to her side. "Mom, what happened?" She shook her head at first, but then she whispered, "I don't want to lose you. You are all I have. If you go away with him, I will be alone in this world." Her words stabbed my heart. How could I leave the woman who had sacrificed everything for me? How could I walk away knowing she would sit in this house, lonely and broken? But then I remembered Daniel's face, the way he looked at me with love, the way he spoke about our future, the dreams we had built together. Could I throw that away? Could I betray the man who had promised me a life full of love and happiness? That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My heart beat fast as if it were running a race. I realized the truth. I couldn't avoid the choice forever. Sooner or later I would have to decide, my fiancé or my mother. And no matter what I chose, someone's heart would break. The tension in my house became impossible to ignore. Even the walls seemed to carry the weight of unspoken words. I woke up each morning with a heavy chest, wondering how long I could keep pretending everything was fine. Daniel's voice was changing. It no longer had the same easy laughter when we spoke. Instead, it carried a quiet impatience. "We should book the wedding hall," he told me one morning. "Time is moving fast. I don't want to wait forever." I smiled weakly. Yes, soon, I whispered, though my heart raced. When I told my mother about his words, she shook her head firmly. Marriage is not only about two people. It is about families, trust, and values. If he truly respected you, he would not push you to leave me behind. Her words made me doubt, even though I didn't want to. Was Daniel being selfish? Or was my mother holding me too tightly because she feared losing me? The pressure grew heavier when my relatives started asking questions. When is the wedding? What is the plan? Will you stay here or move abroad? Their eyes sparkled with excitement, but inside I felt my world crumbling. I smiled in front of them, but behind closed doors, tears became my secret companion. One weekend, Daniel invited me to his family's home. His parents were warm and welcoming. They spoke to me kindly, asked about my studies, and told me how happy they were to see Daniel so in love. For a moment I felt safe. I imagined myself in their family, surrounded by acceptance and support. But when I returned home, my mother was waiting. She asked coldly, "So, how was your visit? Did they already decide to take you away from me?" Her tone cut deep. I wanted to scream, "Why do you always think they are the enemy?" But the words stayed locked inside me. Instead, I sat silently, feeling the invisible wall between us grow higher. Days turned into weeks, and the distance between Daniel and my mother became unbearable. They no longer tried to hide their feelings. Daniel would sigh loudly when she ignored him. My mother would leave the room whenever he entered. I sat in the middle, powerless, like a child caught between two storms. One night, Daniel finally spoke the words I feared most. "I cannot fight this battle forever. I love you, but if your mother never accepts me, how can we live in peace? How long will I be treated like a stranger?" His eyes were filled with pain, and I couldn't answer him. My throat closed and my heart ached. The very next day, my mother confronted me. "He is trying to take you away from me. If you choose him, I will have no one. Think carefully, my child. Some choices cannot be undone." Her trembling voice broke me completely. Two people standing on opposite sides, each pulling at my heart with equal force. I started avoiding both of them. When Daniel called, I sometimes didn't answer. When my mother asked about our plans, I changed the subject. I thought silence would save me, but it only made things worse. The pressure reached a breaking point one evening. We had invited Daniel for dinner, hoping to ease the tension. I cooked his favorite dish, praying that maybe, just maybe, tonight would be different. But halfway through the meal, my mother said, "Why don't you two just go and start your life abroad? Leave me here. After all, that's what you want." Daniel froze. His fork dropped on the plate. "That's not fair," he said, his voice shaking. "I never wanted to take her away from you. I just wanted us to have a better life." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "A better life? What about me? Do I not deserve to have her with me after everything I sacrificed?" I looked at them both, my body trembling, tears rolling down my cheeks. The room felt like it was closing in. That night, after Daniel left without even saying goodbye, I sat beside my mother. She held my hand tightly. "Please don't leave me alone," she whispered. But in my phone was Daniel's last message. "We can't go on like this. I need an answer. Soon." I lay awake until dawn, staring at the ceiling, knowing the moment of truth was coming. I couldn't escape it any longer. The setup of my life was now complete. My fiancé on one side, my mother on the other, and me caught in the middle, knowing that no matter what choice I made, someone I loved would break. The day everything began to fall apart started quietly, like any other. But sometimes, the loudest storms begin in silence. Daniel had been waiting for my answer. His eyes told me that every moment of delay was another wound. My mother, on the other hand, had become softer toward me but colder toward him, as if she already knew what I would choose. I was trapped, and I could feel the walls closing in. One evening, Daniel came to see me. His face was tired, his voice low but steady. "I can't wait forever," he said. "I love you, but this fight is killing me inside. If you want a future with me, you need to stand with me. If not, then tell me now." My heart pounded. I wanted to hug him, to promise him everything, but my mother's shadow stood between us. That same night, when he left, my mother entered my room. She sat beside me, holding my hand like she used to when I was a child. "My daughter," she whispered, "you are the reason I survived all these years. I lived for you. If you go away now, I will have nothing left. Please don't leave me." Her voice shook and tears filled her eyes. I couldn't bear it. How could I tear myself from her? But how could I break Daniel's heart? The conflict grew sharper when Daniel made a decision without telling me. One afternoon, I returned home to find him waiting for me and my mother in the living room. His jaw was tight, his eyes serious. "We need to talk," he said firmly. My stomach dropped. I knew nothing good would come from this. He turned to my mother first. "I respect you. I know what you've done for her. But you need to understand something. Your daughter is not just yours anymore. She is going to be my wife. We need a chance to build our life. Why do you want to keep her chained here?" My mother's face turned pale, then red. She stood up, her hands trembling. "Chained? Do you call my love a chain? Everything I did for her. And now you want to steal her away from me like I am nothing." Daniel's voice rose. "I'm not stealing her. I'm loving her. You're the one making her choose between us." The room exploded with words, anger flying like fire. I stood frozen, tears in my eyes, watching the two people I loved most destroy each other. My heart screamed for them to stop, but my voice refused to come out. Finally I shouted, "Enough!" They both fell silent, their breathing heavy, their eyes burning into me. I turned to them, my voice shaking. "I can't do this anymore. You're tearing me apart. I don't want to choose between you, but you're forcing me." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then my mother spoke softly, her voice full of pain. "If you cannot choose, then maybe you don't truly love either of us." Her words cut deeper than any knife. Daniel stepped back, his eyes wide with disbelief. "So that's it. You'd rather lose her than share her love?" My mother didn't answer. She just sat down, covering her face with her hands. Daniel left the house without another word. The sound of the door closing felt like the sound of my heart breaking. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying their words, their faces, the anger in the air. I wondered if this was what love was meant to be. Pain, sacrifice, and endless battles. The next day, Daniel didn't call. For the first time since we met, my phone was silent. I felt his absence like a hole in my chest. My mother noticed, but she said nothing. Maybe she thought she had won. But if this was victory, why did her eyes look so sad? Days passed. Daniel finally called, but his voice was cold. "I can't live in this war anymore. I need an answer, or I'm walking away." I begged him to wait, but he said only, "I've already waited too long." My hands shook as I held the phone. Tears blurred my vision. My life was spinning out of control, and I didn't know how to stop it. I turned to my mother, desperate for comfort, but she too was distant. "One day you will thank me," she said quietly. "One day you'll see I was right." But in my heart, all I felt was loss. The conflict had begun. My fiancé on one side, my mother on the other, both demanding a decision. And me. I was drowning in love, guilt, and fear, knowing that whatever I chose, I would lose something I could never replace. The morning after Daniel's call, I woke up with heavy eyes and a heavier heart. My phone lay on the table, silent and cold. It felt like even the air in the room had changed, pressing down on me with invisible weight. I wanted to call him back, to explain, to beg him not to give up on me. But my mother's voice echoed in my mind. "One day you will thank me." Was she right? Or was I letting the love of my life slip away because I was too afraid to stand up? I dragged myself into the kitchen. My mother was making tea, humming softly. When she saw me, she smiled. "You look tired. Did you not sleep well?" Her calmness shocked me. How could she act so normal when my world was falling apart? I sat down, staring at the table. Finally I whispered, "Daniel called me. He's giving me an ultimatum." Her hands froze for a moment. She didn't meet my eyes. "Then let him go," she said simply. "A man who forces you to choose does not love you." Her words stung. I wanted to shout, "No, you're the one forcing me to choose." But my throat tightened and the words died inside me. That day, I walked to the park near our home, searching for air, for space, for something that could clear my mind. Memories of Daniel flooded me. His laughter, his kindness, the way he looked at me as if I was his whole world. How could I let that go? But then another memory came. My mother sitting alone in her chair, her eyes staring at nothing, the silence of the house surrounding her. She had given her life to raise me. She had sacrificed everything. I felt torn in two. That evening, Daniel showed up at my door. His face was harder now, colder. When I opened the door, he didn't smile. "Can we talk?" he asked. I nodded and let him inside. My mother was in the living room, and when she saw him, her body stiffened. But this time she said nothing. She only watched. Daniel turned to me. "I can't live like this anymore. Every day feels like a test I'm failing. Do you even want to marry me? Or am I just fighting for nothing?" Tears filled my eyes. "I do want to marry you," I whispered. "But I can't hurt my mother. She's all I have." His voice cracked, a mix of anger and pain. "And what am I? Am I nothing to you? I've been patient, I've been understanding, but it's killing me. Don't you see?" My mother suddenly spoke. "If she truly loved you, she would not hesitate. Love doesn't keep someone waiting forever." Daniel spun around, his eyes blazing. "And if you truly loved her, you would let her live her own life instead of chaining her to your loneliness." The words hung in the air like thunder. My mother's face went pale, her lips trembling. I stepped between them, shaking. "Stop it. Please, both of you. You're tearing me apart." Daniel's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. Finally, he whispered, "I don't want to fight anymore. But if this is how it's going to be, maybe I don't belong here." And then he walked out. The door closed behind him, and the silence that followed was louder than any scream. I turned to my mother, desperate for comfort, but her face was blank. "If he loved you, he wouldn't walk away so easily," she said softly. I ran to my room and locked the door. I cried until my chest hurt, my tears soaking the pillow. I loved them both, but love felt like a curse, not a gift. The next few days were a blur. Daniel didn't call. He didn't text. Each hour without him felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. My mother tried to act normal, but I could feel the tension in the air. One afternoon, I gathered the courage to visit Daniel. When I reached his apartment, my hands trembled as I knocked. He opened the door slowly. His face looked tired, his eyes empty. "Why are you here?" he asked quietly. "Because I miss you," I whispered. His lips pressed into a thin line. "Missing me isn't enough. Do you understand? I need more than that. I need to know that I come first in your life. Can you give me that?" Froze. The truth was stuck in my throat. I wanted to scream, "Yes!" But my mother's face flashed in my mind, her lonely eyes, her fragile voice. Daniel saw my hesitation, and his shoulders sank. "That's my answer," he said, his voice breaking. I grabbed his hand, tears pouring down my face. "Please don't leave me. I just need time." He pulled his hand away gently. "Time is the one thing I don't have anymore." I left his apartment with a heart heavier than ever. That night I sat with my mother. "Why can't you try to understand him? Why can't you accept him for me?" I asked desperately. She looked at me with sad eyes. "Because I know men like him. They promise the world, but when life gets hard they walk away. I don't want you to suffer the way I did." Her words revealed the truth she had never told me. Her loneliness, her fear, her broken past. It wasn't just about me. It was about her wounds. But still, I asked myself, should her pain decide my future? The conflict inside me grew louder, sharper. Each day felt like a battlefield. Daniel or my mother. Love or duty. Freedom or guilt. And no matter which way I looked, I saw only loss. The days that followed were filled with silence. But silence never feels the same from two sides. At home, my mother's quietness was heavy, watchful, almost victorious, as if she thought the storm had passed. In my heart, the silence was suffocating, echoing Daniel's absence louder than any argument we had ever shared. Each morning I checked my phone, hoping for his name to light up the screen. Each night, I fell asleep with disappointment heavy on my chest. He had always been there before, sending goodnight texts reminding me of his love. Now there was nothing. One evening, I sat at the kitchen table with my mother. She placed a bowl of soup in front of me, her movements careful, gentle. "You'll see," she said softly. "This pain will pass." He was not the right one. Her words cut me. She didn't understand. Daniel wasn't just someone. He was my partner, my dream, my future. Losing him wasn't like losing a friend. It was like losing a part of myself. I wanted to scream, to tell her that I wasn't a child anymore, that I could make my own choices. But when I looked into her tired eyes, I saw years of sacrifice staring back at me. How could I throw that away? The following weekend, everything reached a breaking point. It was a Sunday afternoon. I decided to take a walk to clear my mind. I ended up near Daniel's apartment building without even realizing it. My heart beat faster as I stood outside, staring at the door. I told myself not to go in, but my legs moved on their own. When he opened the door, I saw surprise flicker in his eyes. He looked thinner, his face pale. He hadn't been eating well. "You came," he said flatly. I nodded, words trapped in my throat. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he broke it. "I can't keep doing this, you know. I can't keep waiting for you to choose me." Tears blurred my vision. "I don't want to lose you." "Then prove it," he said, his voice rising. "Stand up for us. Tell your mother that I'm the one you want. Tell her you're not a little girl anymore." His words struck me like lightning. Part of me wanted to run, to hide. Another part wanted to shout, "Yes," and finally break free. But fear held me prisoner. I can't," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. He stood pacing the room. "Then this is it. I can't do it anymore. I've given you everything, my love, my time, my patience. But if you can't fight for me, then maybe we were never meant to be." I shook my head desperately. "No, don't say that. Please, I just need more time." He looked at me with eyes full of sorrow. "Time won't change the truth. The truth is, you're too afraid to choose me." I left his apartment with my heart shattered into pieces. When I returned home, my mother was waiting. She saw my swollen eyes and didn't ask questions. Instead, she placed her hand on mine. "I know it hurts now, but you'll thank me one day," she whispered. Her words, meant to comfort, felt like chains tightening around me. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My thoughts spiraled, colliding with each other. I realized that no matter what I did, someone would end up broken. If I chose Daniel, my mother's world would collapse. If I chose my mother, my own future would vanish. The next morning, I made a decision. I couldn't live in this limbo anymore. I had to face the truth, no matter how painful. I invited Daniel to meet me at the park. When he arrived, his eyes carried the weight of sleepless nights. We sat on the same bench where we had shared laughter months ago. Now the air between us felt colder. "I love you," I said softly. "But I don't know if I can hurt my mother the way you want me to." His jaw tightened. "So you're choosing her?" Tears slipped down my cheeks. "I'm not choosing her over you. I'm choosing not to destroy the only family I have left." His face hardened, but his eyes betrayed his pain. "Then I guess this is goodbye." The word goodbye hit me like a knife. My body trembled, but I didn't stop him as he stood up. I didn't chase him as he walked away. I sat there long after he was gone, my tears mixing with the evening air. When I returned home, my mother greeted me with a soft smile, unaware of the finality of what had just happened. I wanted to tell her, to make her understand the price of her love. But the words wouldn't come. The conflict had reached its end. Not because I had found a solution, but because the choice had been made for me. Still, in the quiet of my room that night, I whispered into the darkness, "I hope you're happy, Mama. But I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself." The days after Daniel walked away felt like living inside a hollow shell. The world around me moved on, neighbors chatting, children laughing, buses honking, but inside, everything was silent, as if life had pressed pause on my heart. I tried to carry on as though nothing had happened. I went to work, returned home, ate dinner with my mother, and smiled when she smiled. But the truth was written all over my face. My laughter was gone, my joy stolen, my nights long and sleepless. One evening, as I stood by the window staring at the empty street, my phone vibrated. My heart leapt, hoping it was Daniel. But when I checked, it was a message from my cousin. "Did you break up with Daniel? Saw him today." He looked broken. My chest tightened. Even the world outside my home was starting to notice. Daniel was not just gone from my life. He was drifting further away, visible to everyone else but unreachable to me. That night at dinner, I asked my mother gently, "Do you think I made the right choice?" She looked at me as though I had asked a strange question. "Of course you did. A mother's love is forever. Men come and go, but family remains." I forced a smile, but inside a storm brewed. Was it really true? Or was that something she told herself to ease her own regrets? The next day, I bumped into Daniel at the grocery store. My hands shook as I saw him standing in the aisle, his eyes scanning the shelves. He looked thinner, weaker. His usual spark was gone. When his eyes met mine, time seemed to freeze. For a second I thought he might smile, that he might run to me and hold me the way he used to. Instead, he gave a faint nod and turned away. I couldn't breathe. I ran after him, whispering, "Daniel, wait." He stopped but didn't turn fully toward me. His voice was quiet, cold. "What is it?" My words tumbled out, desperate and shaky. "I miss you. I think about you every day." His shoulders stiffened. "Missing me isn't enough. You had your chance. You chose your mother." Tears stung my eyes. "Please. I didn't want to lose you." Finally he turned, his eyes red. "Then why did you let me go?" Had no answer. Silence swallowed me whole. He left, and this time I didn't chase him. My body was frozen, as if admitting the truth would destroy me. I had already lost him. When I returned home, my mother noticed my swollen eyes. She asked nothing, but her silence felt louder than any question. The following week, an invitation arrived at our door. It was for my friend's wedding. My mother encouraged me to go, saying it would be good for me. But when I arrived, dressed in my best clothes, I felt like a ghost among the living. Laughter, music, flowers, everything screamed of love and celebration. My heart, however, felt like stone. Then, across the hall, I saw him. Daniel. He was standing near the groom, talking softly, his suit neat and handsome. My breath caught in my throat. For a moment he looked at me. Just one look and my world spun. We were in the same place, surrounded by joy, yet worlds apart. Later that evening, as I sat alone at a table, Daniel walked past me. I gathered all my courage and whispered, "Can we talk just for a moment?" He paused, then sat down across from me. The music and chatter around us faded into the background as our eyes locked. "Why are you here?" he asked softly. "Because I had to see you. Because I can't go on like this." His jaw tightened. "Then choose me now. Right here. Tell me you'll marry me even if your mother says no. Can you do that?" The world stopped. My hands trembled. My lips parted, but no words came out. He leaned closer, his voice breaking. "You can't, can you?" That's all I needed to know. He stood up and walked away again. No. I sat there frozen, knowing this was not just a test. It was the end of us. When I returned home, my mother greeted me warmly, asking about the wedding. I stared at her, wondering if she had any idea of the price I had paid for her approval. "It was fine," I lied. But inside I was falling apart. That night I had a dream. I was standing on a bridge, Daniel on one side, my mother on the other. Both were calling me, their hands stretched out. I ran back and forth trying to choose, but no matter which way I went, the bridge began to crumble beneath my feet. When I woke up, sweat dripped down my face. My heart raced. I realized something terrifying. If I didn't act soon, I would lose both of them. And that was when the real climax began. The confrontation I had avoided for too long. I couldn't pretend anymore. The silence was breaking me, the lies were consuming me, and the weight of my choice was suffocating. The question that had haunted me for months stood louder than ever. Would I stand with my fiancé, the man who wanted my future? Or would I stand with my mother, the woman who had given me everything but was slowly taking it all back? The answer would tear my life apart, no matter what I chose. The day of the breaking point came faster than I expected. It was a gray Saturday morning, and the air felt heavy, almost warning me that something was about to change. Daniel called. His voice was firm but tired. "I can't live in half-light anymore. I need to see you face to face. No excuses, no delays. Today." My heart pounded. Something in his tone told me this wasn't just another conversation. Felt final. I agreed. "Come to the house," I said, my voice shaking. When I hung up, I turned to see my mother standing in the doorway. She had heard everything. Her face was pale, her lips pressed tightly together. "He's coming here, isn't he?" she asked. He nodded. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, with a sharp breath, she whispered, "Good. Maybe it's time we end this." Her words filled me with dread. End this? What did she mean? End Daniel, end me, end us? The hours until his arrival dragged like years. I paced the floor, my hands clammy. My mother sat in her chair, silent but watchful, as if preparing for battle. When Daniel finally knocked, My heart nearly burst from my chest. I opened the door, and there he was, looking tired but determined, his eyes locked on mine. He stepped inside, and the moment he saw my mother sitting there, the air snapped like a live wire. The silence was unbearable. Finally, Daniel spoke. "I didn't come here to fight. I came here for clarity." My mother's chin lifted. "Then speak clearly." Daniel turned to me first. "Do you love me? Yes or no?" My voice trembled. "Yes, I love you." Relief flickered across his face for a second, but it was gone as quickly as it came. "Then why am I not enough? Why do I have to beg for you to choose me?" My mother cut in sharply. "Because love is not just about feelings. It is about respect, duty, family. You may love her now, but when life gets hard, where will you be? I know men like you. You'll leave her, and she will have nothing." Daniel's voice cracked with anger. "I am not the man who left you. Don't punish her for your past." The words struck my mother like a blow. Her face drained of color, her hands trembling in her lap. For the first time, I saw the cracks in her armor, the wounds she carried, still bleeding after all these years. I couldn't stay silent anymore. My voice burst out. "Stop, both of you. This is my life, not a war between your fears and his promises." Daniel stepped closer to me, his eyes desperate. "Then choose, right now. Look me in the eye and tell me if you'll marry me, even if your mother says no." My mother's voice, low but cutting, followed instantly. "And look me in the eye, daughter, and tell me if you can watch me sit alone, forgotten, while you build a life without me." The room spun. Two voices pulling me apart, their love twisted into weapons. Tears poured down my face as I shouted, "Why do you both make me choose? Why can't you love me enough to let me have both?" Daniel's voice broke. "Because she'll never let you go. And I can't live as her enemy." My mother's whisper was sharp as glass. "Because he will take you away, and I will be left with nothing." The truth was naked now. Their fear wasn't about me, it was about themselves. One afraid of being abandoned, the other afraid of being trapped. And I stood in the middle, carrying both their wounds. Daniel grabbed my hands. "I love you, but I can't keep waiting. If you want me, come with me now. Walk out that door with me, and we'll start our life together." My mother's eyes filled with tears. She stood slowly, her body shaking. "If you walk out that door, don't expect it to still be open when you come back." Her words were a knife to my chest. I looked at Daniel, his eyes begging for hope, and at my mother, her face breaking into fear and sorrow. My body trembled. My voice cracked. I don't know what to do." Daniel's shoulders slumped. He let go of my hands, pain flashing across his face. "Then you've already chosen." He turned and walked to the door. My heart screamed at me to stop him, to run after him, but my legs refused to move. The door shut with a sound that echoed like thunder in the quiet house. My mother sank back into her chair, covering her face with her hands. I wanted to collapse beside her, to cry in her arms, but something inside me shifted. For the first time, I saw the cost of her love. It wasn't just protection, it was possession. And Daniel's love, though pure, demanded escape. And I was left in between, broken, breathless, unable to breathe without pain. That night, I sat alone in my room, staring at the door. I thought of the bridge from my dream. One side my fiancé, the other my mother, and me trapped in the middle. The bridge was falling faster now. If I didn't decide soon, I would lose them both forever. And deep down I knew. The next choice I made would not only decide my future but define the rest of my life. The night after Daniel walked out, silence filled the house like a storm cloud that refused to leave. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my chest heavy with guilt. Sleep would not come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his back disappearing through the door, his words echoing. "Then you've already chosen." But had I chosen? Or had my silence chosen for me? By morning, the weight was unbearable. I went to the kitchen, where my mother sat with her tea. Her eyes were red from crying, though she tried to hide it. "Good morning," she whispered. I opened my mouth, but no words came. Finally, I sat across from her and whispered, "Mama, I can't live like this anymore." Her hand trembled on her cup. "I can't lose you," she said softly, almost like a child. Tears filled my eyes. "And I can't lose myself." She froze, her breath catching. "I love you, Mama," I continued. "You've given me everything. You've been my world. But I can't be only yours anymore. If I stay only as your daughter, I'll never become the woman I'm meant to be." Her lips pressed tight, trembling. "And if you leave, who will I be?" The question broke my heart. I reached across the table, gripping her hands. "You'll still be my mother. Always. But I can't let your fears become my future." For the first time, she didn't argue. She only wept. That evening, I made the hardest decision of my life. Called Daniel. When he answered, his voice was cautious. "Why are you calling?" "Because I can't let the silence be the end of us," I whispered. "I love you, Daniel. And I want to fight for us." The line was quiet for a long time. Then his voice softened. "Does that mean you're choosing me?" My throat tightened. "It means I'm choosing myself. And you are part of that self. But I need you to understand. I won't abandon my mother. I need both of you in my life, even if it's messy, even if it's hard." He sighed, torn between hope and doubt. "She'll never accept me." "Maybe not today," I admitted. "But love isn't always instant. Sometimes it's patience. Sometimes it's proof." There was another pause, then a quiet. "If you're sure, then I'll wait. For you." The next morning, I told my mother my decision. She didn't speak for a long time. She only sat, staring at the floor. Finally, she looked up, her eyes filled with pain. "You're really going to marry him, aren't you?" she whispered. "Yes," I said. My voice shook, but it was steady enough to be true. Her tears fell freely. "Then I pray he never hurts you. Because if he does, I won't forgive him. And I won't forgive myself." I walked to her and hugged her tightly. She resisted at first, but then her arms wrapped around me, trembling. "You'll always have me," I whispered. "But now you have to share me." The following weeks were a blur. Daniel and I met often, rebuilding trust, planning our future. My mother kept her distance, her silence heavy but less sharp than before. She didn't approve, but she didn't forbid. The day of our engagement came. I wore a simple dress, my hands trembling as Daniel slid the ring on my finger. Friends clapped, relatives smiled, but my eyes searched only for her. She stood at the back, her face unreadable. For a moment, I feared she wouldn't come forward. But then slowly she walked to me. The hall fell silent. She looked at Daniel, her eyes hard but not cruel. "She is my only daughter. If you break her, you break me." Daniel nodded, his voice steady. "I won't. Not now, not ever." Something shifted in her face. Not acceptance, not yet, but the first crack in the wall she had built. She turned to me, brushing a tear from my cheek. "You are still mine," she whispered. "But now you are his too. I will try. For you." And in that moment, I realized something. Choosing didn't mean cutting one love off to keep another. It meant demanding that love expand, even if it hurt, even if it broke the old rules. Life after that wasn't perfect. There were arguments, silences, and long stretches of coldness between Daniel and my mother. But there were also small moments of progress. A shared meal, a polite word, a softened glance. And through it all, I carried one truth. Love isn't about making one person your whole world. It's about building a world where many loves can live together, even if it's messy, even if it's fragile. That night, as I lay in bed with the engagement ring glowing softly on my finger, I whispered into the darkness. I chose both. And I chose myself. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. The weeks after the engagement felt like walking on a thin rope. I balanced carefully, trying not to fall into the space between my mother and my fiancé. There were days of calm where my mother smiled at me, even if only for a moment. And there were days of storm where silence filled the house again, and Daniel grew frustrated with the slow progress. But through it all, I learned something important. Healing takes time. One evening, I sat with my mother at the dining table. The food on our plates was barely touched. She looked at me with tired eyes and asked softly, "Do you ever feel afraid?" I nodded. "Every day. But being afraid doesn't mean I should stop. It just means I care about what happens." She sighed, her fingers tapping the table. "When your father left us, I promised myself no man would ever come between me and my daughter. I built walls to protect us. But now I wonder, maybe I built those walls too high." Her words surprised me. For the first time, she admitted her fear openly. I reached for her hand. "Mama, you didn't fail. You kept me safe. You raised me with strength. But now you don't have to protect me alone anymore. Daniel wants to share that." Her eyes softened, though her lips stayed tight. I don't know if I can trust him. I smiled gently. Then trust me. Trust that I won't let him hurt me. And if he does, I'll come back to you. She squeezed my hand, and I felt a small shift, a seed of hope planting itself in the space between us. The following weekend, Daniel invited us both to dinner. First, my mother refused. She said she wasn't ready. But after hours of convincing, she agreed, though her expression was stiff. At the restaurant, Daniel stood as we arrived. He greeted her politely, and though her reply was cold, she didn't turn away. They sat across from each other, the tension so heavy I could barely breathe. Daniel cleared his throat. Mrs. Ollie, I know I am not what you hoped for, but I love your daughter and I want to make her happy. I don't ask you to like me today. I only ask for a chance to show you that I can take care of her. My mother stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked at me, her eyes searching. Do you believe him? Yes, I said without hesitation. With all my heart. Something in her face softened, just slightly. She didn't smile, but she nodded once. Then I will watch. And if I see truth in your actions, maybe I will believe too. It wasn't a blessing. It wasn't approval. But it was not rejection either. For me, it was enough. Over time, small changes began to appear. My mother started asking about Daniel. Even if her tone was sharp, she no longer ignored his name. Daniel, for his part, never stopped trying. He visited respectfully, brought groceries, helped around the house, and showed patience even when she dismissed him. One rainy afternoon, I walked into the living room and found them talking. My mother was telling him a story about my childhood. Her voice softer than usual. Daniel was listening carefully, smiling in all the right places. She caught me watching and quickly looked away, embarrassed. But I saw it, the first thread of connection weaving itself between them. Months passed, and the wedding approached. My mother still carried her doubts, but she no longer fought me. Instead, she began to help with the preparations, picking fabrics, tasting dishes, and offering advice, though sometimes with criticism. It was her way of showing she cared. On the day of the wedding, I stood in front of the mirror, dressed in white. My hands trembled, not from fear of marriage, but from the weight of the journey that brought me here. My mother entered the room, her eyes shining with tears. You look just like your grandmother, she whispered, adjusting my veil. I turned to her. Do you forgive me for choosing this path? She cupped my face in her hands. There was nothing to forgive. You chose your happiness. That is what I always wanted for you, even when I didn't know how to show it. I hugged her tightly, feeling her tears on my shoulder. At the ceremony, Daniel waited at the altar. When I walked down the aisle, my mother walked beside me, holding my hand. She didn't let go until she placed my hand in his. Her voice trembled as she whispered to him, "Take care of her, please." He nodded. Always. That was the moment I knew things would be okay. Not perfect, not without struggles, but okay. Love, I realized, is not about choosing one person over another. It is about expanding your heart wide enough to hold them both, even when it feels impossible. My fiancé and my mother would never see each other the way I saw them, but they both loved me. And that was enough. As Daniel and I exchanged vows, I saw my mother smiling through her tears. She wasn't just losing me, she was sharing me. And in that sharing, we all found a new kind of love. That night, as the celebrations ended, I stood alone under the stars. The ring on my finger glowed softly in the moonlight. I thought about the path that had brought me here, the pain, the arguments, the silence, the fear. And yet, all of it had led me to this moment of peace. My fiancé or my mother? I whispered to the night. I chose both. And I chose myself. And for the first time, I truly believed it. Thank you for watching this emotional story. Sometimes life puts us in impossible situations, and the choices we make shape who we become. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who might need it today. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more emotional English stories, and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you had to choose between love and family? Your thoughts inspire our next stories.